Welcome to the Literally First Class podcast, where I will teach you how to overcome anxiety and achieve somatic success. I'm your host, Carrie Ford. I'm a somatic success and holistic life coach here to bring humor, insight, and wisdom to the modern day woman that wants to feel alive in her daily life. You ready? Come on, I saved you a seat in first class. Today, I want to share with you a single word that will change everything. And I'm speaking specifically to those of you that are perfectionists that historically have defaulted into what's called binary thinking. Binary thinking is black and white thinking where it's all in, it's all or nothing, it's right or wrong, good or bad. There's often like this energy of a judger behind all of it. And it's just extreme. It doesn't really serve you. And so I'm going to give you a real life example of how this can show up for someone that you see it in their physical world, right? This all or nothing extreme way of being. I have a friend and she has a very successful business, but she's constantly trying to get away to take a break. And then as soon as she's on that break, she's constantly trying to get back to her routine. So either way, she's running toward or running away from something, but she's never where she is in that moment. She's never really standing still. And that place of extremes is extremely, it's very exhausting. So what if you could have everything you wanted simply with the introduction of the word and? I'm going to give you another example. This one is about my business model. Recently, I've been doing a lot of revamping of programs in my business, and I'm getting very clear on the clients that I serve, my overall mission, and how I want clients to work with me and how I want them to receive my work. And so we drew out a circle. I mean, there's a lot of business models that are ascension models, which is like the client starts here, and either they're required to complete this baseline foundational course to come to this next level and then to the next, or you get a client in your orbit and the goal is to continue to work with them. But that didn't really feel good to me after a certain period of time. I decided that I wanted to trust my clients' ability to know what is best for them and to know that sometimes in different seasons, different programs are going to land for them. So they don't have to enter my world with one set program and climb the ladder of ascension. They can come into my world on this circle, but wherever they come in, it's perfect for them in the season they're in, the level of support that they need and that they're looking for. Now, they can move around the circle, clockwise or counterclockwise, and they might come in with, starting work with me in the Millionaire Mindset Meditation program. Maybe they've moved around the circle and they are in the one-to-one Elevate program with me, or maybe they've even entered my world and this circle at one of the retreats and they've decided they want the other products, or maybe they feel complete with that experience. But the point is this circle is very fluid, it's continuous, and the goal is to trust the client with wherever they're at the level of support they know they need and based on what I can co-create with them, right? What I also agree with. So saying all of that, like arriving at this place with this simple business model actually took a little bit of cognitive dissonance, right? Cognitive dissonance is where two seemingly separate things just don't seem to align. And so those two concepts for me were that I was clear on having both a creatively stimulating business and a simple business. But in my mind, I couldn't get past the idea that creativity is expansive and playful and joyful and totally my zone of genius. And simplicity, which feels easy and nourishing and supportive and loving, they just felt at odds. Like I could not cognitively comprehend how both of these concepts could ever be coexisting. So the idea of introducing the word and seemed very helpful here. And so I want to offer that to you, the word and, a business that is both simple and creative. So once I got past that initial cognitive dissonance, I thought, well, how could that feel? And that's how I later, through a little bit of some self-work, landed on this circle business model. Clients enter the circle, they move fluidly around the circle in no particular direction, and they can enter at any point in time. And this way, all programs are always selling all the time, but they are perfect for the client at the perfect time in their life. And I just loved that. So the word "and" can be super encouraging. It can bring two seemingly separate concepts together. And then this way, I don't feel like I have to sacrifice or choose. And I also create this gradient of possibility that I didn't know existed before, where I might have thought I had to choose, right? I have to choose simple at the cost of lack of creativity. Or I choose creativity, but at the cost of a simple business model. It's going to be chaotic and it's going to be all over the place and there's always new things. So this was really interesting to explore. Now, this is not my first time exploring the word "and." I have been anding for a while. I've been exploring the word "and" for quite a bit because I feel like this is a huge part of my healing as a historic perfectionist and thus binary thinker. Now, I want to give one other example before I talk about the binary thinking. But another example that a client of mine came up with, historic overachiever, wants to do all the things, constantly finds herself forwarding onto the next project, the next thing on her checklist. She was like, how could I potentially be both motivated and content? Those two things seem to be at odds with each other. Because contentment, in my mind, feels like it's lazy or the opposite of motivated. But from a place of contentment and motivation, we can find peace and power, right? It doesn't mean we're meditating on a mountain waiting for things to happen. We know that we have to go do things and we have to take action steps to land the things that we actually want to create. But from what place are we operating? And so that was a really cool example as well. I thought that you might find useful. Let's talk about binary thinking. This is actually a protective mechanism to run everything through as a filtration process. It's how I noticed I made sense of the world, but it's also how I judged what I was doing, but not always from the space of who I really am. It often had an external lens, right? This external filter was placed on top. And so let's use food, because I think this is a really easy one to understand. Those of you that have dieted or have ever, found yourself saying like, that's good or that's bad or that's a treat or a reward. This is where I used that a lot, right? It was how I kept myself in control, because if I didn't do it, the fear was I would be out of control. So I felt like this was the way I controlled things, my environment, myself. It was a self-protective mechanism, but it didn't serve me because I'm still continue to explore, how can I push the edges of the box that I continually put myself into? I always find there to be an edge at every new level. And so I want to know the edges so I know where to press into gently, lovingly, and compassionately, of course. But that's been a really powerful practice for me to understand where that filtration process first came from, and knowing that it comes from the space of trying to make myself feel safe and control my external environment, and therefore apply that to myself, the way I show up and be in the world. I was like, oh, I can have so much more compassion for myself here. But how do I actually want to feel? And that's where I use the word "and." Because truly, I believe you can create anything that you think is possible, but it's our thoughts and our beliefs that really create our reality. They create our experience, and they create the reality that we live out every single day. So if you want to rewrite that, I encourage you, whether it's right now, you might have some words coming up in your mind, or after this episode, to get out your pen and paper and write down a list of seemingly separate concepts that you would like to invite the word "and" into. Maybe it's joy and parenting. I mean, let's be honest, parenting has been probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And kids will mirror everything in yourself that you didn't know you needed to heal. They just will. Your inner child's upset with your actual child, and it's just a whole fucking mess. So get out a pen and paper, write down some of those seemingly, oppositional concepts, and see how it feels in your body, in your mind, and how you can create the world of and between them. There is so much more available than what we think is if we just remove that filtration process that keeps us from experiencing new things, because the whole point of the filter is to keep us experiencing familiar and therefore safe things. So the filter is useful. We can love it. We can see it, but we don't need it when we're trying to create new concepts of ourself and our world. So I hope that word is equally as healing for you as it was for me. And let me know what first class moves you're making this week. You can tag me on @literallyfirstclass on Instagram. I would love to know. You can just share with me, or you can hashtag, and my team and I will go through and check that out. But I hope you guys have an awesome week, and that, what is the and word we're going to think of here? I hope that it's an awesome week and that you are experiencing growth despite the challenge. All right. Have a great one, guys.
I hope you enjoyed your flight, and I'll see you on board again soon.
Seriously, though, thanks for listening. If you're ready to take this work deeper and upgrade your mind, I want to invite you to join us inside my Millionaire Mindset program. This is where you'll start using my guided meditations to help you overcome anxiety and experience even more abundance. When you join, you'll have access to my entire audio library. Head over to elevatewithcarrie.com and we'll see you inside.